Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pinocchio. Can you sing it with me this morning? Come on, give it a try. Pinocchio. I wish I could hear you. I can imagine though. All right, chapter 19. Pinocchio is robbed of his gold pieces and in punishment is sentenced to 4 months in prison. What? If you recall, he had planted his gold coins in the field of wonders, and the fox and the cat told him, go away for a little bit and then come back and you'll find your treasure. So here we go. If the marionette had been told to wait a day instead of 20 minutes, the time could not have seemed longer. He walked impatiently to and fro and finally turned his nose toward the field of wonders. And as he walked with hurried steps, his heart beat with an excited tick-tack, tick-tack, just as if it were a wall clock, and his busy brain kept thinking, what if instead of 1,000 I should find 2,000? Or if instead of 2,000 I should find 100,000? I'll build a beautiful palace with stables filled with wooden horses to play with, a cellar overflowing with lemonade and ice cream soda, and a library of candies and fruits, cakes and cookies. It's at the bottom of the hour. You ever been so excited your heart beat fast like a clock? In fact, I'll tell you what. Let's try this. Here's my microphone. Hello, can you hear me now? Can you hear the clock going? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Check your heart. See if your heart's beating this fast. Anyway. There we go. I'm sorry, where was I? Pinocchio with his untrained imagination. Thus, amusing himself with fancies, he came to the field. There he stopped to see if by any chance a vine filled with gold coins was in sight. But he saw nothing. He took a few steps forward, and still nothing. He stepped into the field. He went to where he had dug the hole and buried the gold pieces. Again, nothing. Pinocchio became very thoughtful, and, forgetting his good manners altogether, he pulled a hand out of his pocket and gave his head a thorough scratching. As he did so, he heard the hearty burst of laughter close to his head. He turned sharply, and there, just above him on the branch of a tree, sat a large parrot, busily preening his feathers. What are you laughing at? Pinocchio asked peevishly. I am laughing because, in preening my feathers, I tickled myself under the wings. The marionette did not answer. He walked to the brook, filled his shoe with water, and sprinkled the ground which covered the gold pieces. Another burst of laughter, even more impertinent than the first, was heard in the quiet field. Well, cried the marionette angrily, may I know what amuses you so? I am laughing at those simpletons who believe everything they hear and who allow themselves to be caught so easily in the traps set for them. Do you perhaps mean me? I certainly do mean you, poor Pinocchio, you who are such a little silly as to believe that gold can be sown in a field just like beans or squash. I too believed that once, and today I am very sorry for it. Today, but too late, I have reached the conclusion that in order to come by money honestly, one must work and know how to earn it with hand or brain. So good, I gotta read it again. I have reached the conclusion that in order to come by money honestly, one must work and know how to earn it with hand or brain. You probably have both of those. I don't know what you're talking about, said the marionette, who was beginning to tremble with fear. Too bad. I'll explain myself better, said the parrot. While you were away in the city, the fox and the cat returned here in a hurry. They took the 4 gold pieces which you buried and ran away. If you can catch them, you're a brave one. Pinocchio's mouth opened wide. He would not believe the parrot's words and began to dig away furiously at the earth. He dug till the hole was as big as himself, but no money was there. In desperation, he ran to the city and went to the courthouse to report the robbery. The judge was a monkey, a large gorilla, venerable with age. A flowing white beard covered his chest, and he wore gold-rimmed spectacles from which the glasses had dropped out. The reason for wearing these, he said, was that his eyes had been weakened by the work of many years. Pinocchio, standing before him, told his pitiful tale, word by word. He gave the names and the descriptions of the robbers and begged for justice. Boy, I got a really good picture for this one here. This is another one of the full-page pictures in the book. Take a moment and take a close look at it. So there's Pinocchio pleading his case before the judge. And then there's like the little court reporter on the side that's writing everything down. There's actually a mouse in the picture. Can you find the mouse? Maybe even pause the video and look carefully. Can you find the mouse? Anyway, here's a close-up of Pinocchio pleading his case in the testimony stand before the judge. There's the books. There's the judge. I don't see the spectacles, so maybe he took them off so we could see better. And then there's a nice little, sculpture of looks like a lion maybe, that's doing a kissy face or something. I'm not quite sure what that is. And then there's the court reporter guy, and then if you look, oh look, there's the mouse. There he is right there. Anyway, the judge listened to him with great patience. A kind look shone in his eyes. He became very interested in the story. He felt moved. He almost wept. When the marionette had no more to say, the judge put out his hand and rang the bell. Of course, there's you see the bell in his hand there. At the sound, 2 large mastiffs appeared. Those are dogs. Dressed in carabiners' uniforms. Then the magistrate, pointing to Pinocchio, said in a very solemn voice, "This poor simpleton has been robbed of 4 gold pieces. Take him, therefore, and throw him into prison." The marionette, on hearing this sentence passed upon him, was thoroughly stunned. He tried to protest, but the 2 officers clapped their paws on his mouth and hustled him away to jail. There he had to remain for 4 long, weary months, and if it had not been for a very lucky chance, he probably would have had to stay there longer. For, my dear children, you must know that it happened just then that the young emperor who ruled over the city of Simple Simons had gained a great victory over his enemy, and in celebration thereof he had ordered illuminations, fireworks, shows of all kinds, and best of all, the opening of all prison doors. "If the others go, I go too," said Pinocchio to the jailer. "Not you," answered the jailer. "You're one of those—" "I beg your pardon," interrupted Pinocchio. "I too am a thief." "In that case, you are also free," said the jailer, taking off his cap. He bowed low and opened the door of the prison, and Pinocchio ran out and away. That's all for chapter 19. Couple thoughts, though. When the parrot tells Pinocchio what happened, it said Pinocchio would not believe. Not could not believe it. Would not believe it. I think that's probably true. Oftentimes the things that we believe because we choose to believe them. Why do we choose to believe them? There's 2 different ways for that, but that's a different conversation. But yes, belief is a choice. You wouldn't believe it. And secondly, boy, you got robbed and then you get thrown into prison as punishment for you? Yeah, sometimes when we're foolish, we have natural consequences and then it just gets worse from there. Anyway, I wonder what's going to happen in chapter 20. See you next time.